nearly 75% of the non-organic fresh produce sold in the United States contains residues of pesticides. Much of our food is contaminated with glyphosate, which is sprayed on over 70% of crops, which means you want to really, that's a weed killer. You want to make sure you use organic food if you can, regeneratively raised food if you can. But if you can't, there's a great guide from the Environmental Working Group that comes out every year with a list of the dirty dozen worst contaminated fruits and vegetables and the clean 15, the least contaminated. And basically, if you follow that, you can kind of avoid the most contaminated foods. So to come up with this year's list, the Environmental Working Group, or EWG, went through the USDA data on 46,000 samples of 46 of the most popular fruits and vegetables. They washed them, they peeled them as one would do at home before testing them for pesticides. Now, after washing, nearly 75% of the non-organic fresh produce sold in the United States contains residues of pesticides. That's what the report found. And so they basically score each type of produce from clean to dirty based on a percent of the samples tested with detectable pesticides. The percent of samples with 2 or more detectable pesticides, the average number of pesticides found in a single sample, the average amount of pesticides found, the maximum number of pesticides found in a single sample, and the total number of pesticides found in the crop. So there's a lot of different ways they look at how bad is it contaminated. Basically, this means that in that list, it's telling you which crops were treated with the most and the highest volume and the most variety of pesticides. But it doesn't quite go to connect the dots between that and what are the health risks. But there are, I promise you. So what is the 2023 Dirty Dozen? Strawberries always top the list. So if you're not going to eat those organic, don't eat them. And I'm going to list them now, but you can see it in the show notes. We're going to post it there as well. Strawberries, spinach, which we all like, kale, collards, and mustard greens, which are staples for people. If they're not organic, don't eat them. Peaches, pears, nectarines, apples, grapes, bell and hot peppers, cherries, blueberries, and green beans. So if those are not organic, don't eat them. Blueberries and green beans are actually new additions to this year's list. The green bean samples had residue acephate, which is a toxic pesticide that the EPA banned over 10 years ago. Overall, more than 90% of strawberries, apples, cherries, spinach, nectarines, grapes sample tested positive for residues of 2 or more pesticides. But the good news is there's a whole bunch of stuff that you don't have to buy organic that actually isn't harmful. So the cleanest produce typically has a tougher outer peel or husk or a shell that you have to remove, right? Avocados, for example, corn, pineapple, onions, papaya, sweet peas that are frozen, asparagus, honeydew melon, kiwi, cabbage, mushrooms, mangoes, sweet potatoes, watermelon, carrots. So those are all okay to eat. If you don't want to buy a kiwi organic, it's probably okay. Or your avocado organic is too expensive, that's okay. If you don't want to buy your onions organic, okay. If you want to, get a mango, it's not organic, no big deal. Same with sweet potatoes. So you can save a lot of money by actually focusing on this list. So it's important to understand that whether we like it or not, we live in a toxic world. We have to understand where those toxins come from. We have to reduce our exposures, and we have to upgrade our body's own biological detox system. And we know how to do that. It's not that hard. I've written a lot about it. You can't get rid of them from our environment, but you can reduce your exposures, and you can actually do a little homework for yourself and switch to safer products for your skincare, your household cleaning products, your food products, so you know how to live clean and green without a whole lot of effort. Now, we have been exposed to more and more and more number of environmental toxins than ever before in human history. And the problem with medicine is, in medical school, and today too, when I went to medical school and now, there's almost no education about the effect of environmental toxins on our health, unless it's an acute toxic exposure. Like if you're in a factory and you jump in a vat of mercury, well, okay, they know what to do, but basically they ignore it. The truth is that low-level exposure to multiple different substances over your lifetime is a huge risk factor for so many diseases, from heart disease to cancer to obesity to diabetes to dementia to Parkinson's to autism to depression. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Infertility, I mean, I could go on and on. So it's not just sort of let's detox and get rid of a bunch of toxins. It's really about understanding the biology of environmental toxins, our body's own detoxification system, and how to, one, reduce our exposures while at the same time up-leveling and upgrading our own biological detoxification systems. So we're going to talk about all of that. Now, how do environmental toxins affect our health? Well, they do it through a lot of different mechanisms, but they're basically poisons. And they cause inflammation, they cause oxidative stress, they cause DNA damage, they cause disruption in our mitochondria, they damage our stem cells. I mean, the whole flood of environmental toxins, there's over 80,000 of them now that have been introduced to the industrial sort of world since the early 1900s that we've never been exposed to before, and we somehow have to figure out how to deal with them. Well, thank God we have a system to do it, but it's still overwhelmed. So environmental toxins, as I said, drive cancer. They are hugely impactful, for example, in blood sugar and insulin sensitivity. Most people don't realize that diabetes and prediabetes and even obesity can be driven by environmental toxins, something called bisphenol A, which is a compound that's found in the lining of a lot of cans, plastic bottles, on paper, receipts from credit cards or gas stations. When you touch that, it goes to your skin. And bisphenol A is a huge driver of insulin resistance and prediabetes, independent of what you're eating. It affects cholesterol metabolism. It drives inflammation, oxidative stress, mitochondrial injury, screws up our thyroid function, affects our appetite, leptin signaling. I mean, pretty much everything gets haywire when we're exposed to too many environmental toxins. Now, the downside of living in the modern world is that we're all pre-polluted when we're born. There's 287 known environmental toxins found in the umbilical cord blood of a newborn. I mean, basically, they take out the blood of the umbilical cord, send it to a lab, and the average amount of toxins is 287, many of which have been banned for decades, like DDT or PCBs or dioxin. And 217 of those are neurotoxic, meaning they're directly damaging to the brain. There's pesticides, phthalates, bisphenol A, which I just mentioned, flame retardants, heavy metals like mercury, lead, arsenic, and they have huge effects across the spectrum of human health. So what are the ones that we should really be paying attention to, that we really want to avoid and get rid of? The first I just mentioned earlier is bisphenol A, or BPA. It's found in plastic water bottles and canned foods. It's a synthetic compound that mimics estrogen in the body. We call these xenobiotics or xenoestrogens. And they're hugely impactful in regulating hormonal health and increasing risk of cancer. And it's been linked, BPA, to breast cancer, to infertility, reproductive issues, obesity, heart disease. And it's not that hard to get rid of it in your life. Basically, don't touch credit card receipts. Don't touch gas station receipts that come out of the machine. Don't eat from plastic bottles unless they're BPA free, or from canned foods unless they're BPA free. So make sure you look at that. You can use stainless steel, glass, bottling, packaging. Look for BPA canned foods. The next compound is phthalates. Phthalates are also plasticizers, and they're found in food containers, children's toys. It's banned in Europe. There's a legislation in Europe called REACH. It gets rid of most of these chemicals that are allowed in America. And when there's ever an attempt to limit by law or a bill to reduce our exposures, the food industry and chemical industry comes in hard with tons of lobbying dollars, millions and millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars to defeat bills. There was one on bisphenol A that got defeated. And unfortunately, it was trying to be banned, but it didn't pass because there was so much lobbying against it. But it's found in children's toys. It's found in like the plastic little rubber duckies in the bathtub. So they stick it in their mouth. Bad idea. Also, makeup has a lot of phthalates in it. So get rid of all your unhealthy makeups. And we're going to talk about how to do that. But there's a beautiful website called EWG.org, the Environmental Working Group. They have a skin deep database. You can put in your product, what you like to use, or other products you can find that have no contaminants, and see the level of toxins and what they are, and find alternatives. So they also are really bad for you because phthalates cause hormonal chaos. They're linked to different cancers, to birth defects, to thyroid problems. So make sure you check it out. And the basic rule is if you wouldn't eat it, you probably shouldn't put it in or on your body, right? So for skincare products, everything goes through the skin. When we go to the emergency room with a heart attack, what's the first thing we do? As a doctor, we slap on a toothpaste tube cream full of nitroglycerin because it goes right through the skin and it's the fastest acting, better than taking it by mouth or before we can get an IV in, we just slap that on. And so it goes to the skin, hormone patches, testosterone gels, We know the fentanyl patch. I mean, there's all kinds of drugs that are delivered through the skin. So when you're putting it on your skin, it's actually getting inside your body. So you want to make sure that if you wouldn't eat it, you shouldn't put it on your body. Like coconut oil, but you can eat that and you can put it on your body. So that's a win. But there's a lot of products out there that are safe that you can use. Another one that's concerning is glycol ethers. They're in household cleaning products, cosmetics, paints. They damage fertility. They lead to birth defects. They worsen allergies, asthma. And these are really bad because they're pretty much in all of our household cleaning products. And the Environmental Working Group, EWG, also has a whole guide on household cleaning products. So you can use the least contaminated products or ones that have no toxins in them that work well. So make sure you check that out. And there are so many other toxins like heavy metals, mercury, lead, arsenic. Mercury is from fish, from our fillings, from coal burning plants. Pollution, lead is often found in crystal wine glasses or glazed plates. I see many patients have those and they get sick from that. It can be in the ground. It can be from coal burning. If you're living near a cement plant or a coal plant, that basically goes up in the atmosphere, comes down in the soil. Your kids are playing with it. They'll be dragged in the house. The baby's on the floor. So lead exposure is real. There's houses that still have leaded paint. All the leaded gasoline that was used for years, all that went in the air and goes down into the soil. It can be in vegetables. If you're growing in an urban environment, for example, you're growing greens and you think you're eating kale and being healthy, it could be full of lead. Arsenic also is a big problem, and it's found in rice many places because in the ground. It can be in pressure-treated lumber that you have on your deck and get on your feet. It can go actually in chicken feed to prevent the feed from going moldy, which is great for the feed and the mold, but it's not good for you, and it gets in the chicken, you eat it. So it's pretty important for us to make sure that we get rid of those. So I think the key is we need to avoid toxins. And so the question is, what are the top strategies to reduce our toxic burden? Well, we can basically remove the toxins, but we also have to upregulate our detox system. So first thing is avoid plastics wherever you can. Try stainless steel like containers. I have those, or glass containers for storing food in your fridge. So water bottles, glass containers are great for leftovers. Don't buy water in plastic water bottles. Get a water filter. I like reverse osmosis, and you can actually get a water bottle, bring it with you. Make sure you detox your home. Get simple cleaning products, a laundry detergent, cleaning products for windows, for counters, for dishwasher stuff, everything. And there's a great source, Thrive Market. You can get, it's an online grocery store, basically. You can get all the best cleaners from Seventh Generation and other eco-friendly, non-toxic food companies. And now, of course, check out EWG's guide on household cleaning products, on skincare products. They're great. So I think make sure that you just are diligent about getting toxins out of your home. Second is mercury is a big one. And often we don't pay attention to what we're eating, and people eat tuna fish, swordfish, sushi. Sadly, all the oceans have been polluted, and no matter where you get your fish from, it's pretty much pre-polluted. As microplastics, mercury, and other toxins, PCBs. Farm fish can be just as bad. So there are a few kind of ways to get around it. One is to eat very small fish, sardines, mackerel, herring, anchovies. Small salmon can be okay, but still that can have mercury. Also, there's a great regenerative aquaculture company called Seatopia.fish, and they actually provide beautiful, delicious, clean fish that you can get frozen, sent to your home. It's amazing fish, actually. And also reduce your exposure to the problems that are from all the chemicals in your environment by having an air filter in your house. That reduces the airborne pollution. Indoor air pollution is a real thing, whether it's mold or whether it's other things like contaminants, off-gassing from furniture or rugs. I mean, you want to obviously try to have a clean home and not full of products, but I mean, you buy a Tempur-Pedic bed and it smells awful. It's off-gassing. Those are called VOCs, volatile organic compounds. You really want to avoid those in your house. And then you want to start to learn about how to actually upgrade and increase your body's own detoxification system. And the best way to do that is by using a couple of strategies that are really important. One is maximize your intake of phytochemicals. Plant-based compounds, these nutrients in plants, work on upregulating different pathways in the body, including a lot of detox pathways. There's amazing cornucopia of phytochemicals that work on boosting glutathione and boosting our detox pathways and increasing our ability to get rid of stuff. So the biggest category is the cruciferous vegetables: broccoli, collards, cabbage, kale, Brussels sprouts. They really upregulate glutathione in the body and help to maximize the main detoxifier. Also, there are amazing things like garlic and onions that also contain sulfur that are great for detoxification. Also, things like rosemary, curcumin, ginger, and the skin of a lemon. Like if you grate lemon into a salad or something, the skin of a lemon has limonene. These all help upregulate our detox pathways. We also need the right nutrients, right? We need methylation support, B12, folate, B6. We need magnesium, selenium, zinc, and many other minerals and vitamins to actually help upregulate our detox pathways. We need amino acids in the form of protein to help with some of the amino acid pathways. So there's lots of ways we now understand the body's own built-in detox system, and we have to support it. The next thing you can do is sweat. So your body gets rid of toxins through both exercise, increasing the lymphatic flow and circulation through exercise, increased circulation, and also saunas. So a sauna is an amazing way to boost your detox system and help body remove a lot of environmental toxins, which are fat soluble. And you can actually measure them on the sweat. You also want to take the right supplements, as I mentioned. So you want to take additional support of a good multi, methylating support, zinc, vitamin C, glutathione boosting stuff, N-acetylcysteine, lipoic acid, milk thistle. A lot of other herbs can be used to help to boost the body's detox pathways. So I highly recommend getting on a regular support system for that. I do, because we're all exposed. Sometimes if you have a real big issue, you might need to see a doctor and get treated. Like I did for mercury poisoning. I needed chelation. I needed to actually use a medication to help remove the metals from my body. If it's lead, you can use EDTA. If it's mercury, you can use DMSA. And they're extremely effective. They need to be used properly and safely with a doctor's supervision. There's a lot of steps to properly getting rid of mercury, but you need a good functional medicine doctor. So it's really, really, really important to do that.
If you love that last video, you're going to love the next one. Check it out here.
We are inundated with a thyroid problem because our thyroid is like the canary in the coal mine. It's super sensitive to all sorts of environmental toxins, to stresses in our diet, to gluten. And low thyroid function affects 1 in 5 women and 1 in 10 men. That's a lot.